Okay, welcome. Today I thought I would just offer a video just about the healing power of nature, and in doing so I just wanted to just share with you my wife and my garden. As some of you know, my experience at boarding school, it was really challenging, traumatic, and after the death of a friend at school, I spent a number of months just living in the woods. I didn't have permission, I just went truant really. The afternoons after lessons, or sometimes I'd miss lessons, I would go and I would, go into the woods and build a den. And I really found, there was no one else to support me, and I felt that that's something which helped me get through a very difficult time. So now, where we live here in Yorkshire, I'll show you around the garden. It's quite high up, but gradually over time, the garden's kind of really flourished. And I spend, probably an hour or so a day, probably more the weekends in the garden, pottering, cutting the grass. My wife spends more time. And I find it really helpful. So I'll have a session, do my coaching work or my men's work, and then I'll come outside and I'll spend some time weeding or pottering, or it might be chopping wood. And I just find that really beautiful. Just helps me to keep more centered. I'm going to just show you around. So behind we've got the Comfrey, and the Comfrey is a really lovely bee plant. So we don't have the beehive, but we do have lots of bees in the garden. We've also this year got great tits which have nested for the first time. Our house is very isolated up here on the tops. So it means that there aren't that many birds around, but as you'll go around the garden you'll see there's more and more birds starting to appear. It's like a real lovely paradise. So let's just show you around now. I'm not sure how I can change I'll have to just guide you around. Okay, so this is the top section. Got one of our wood stores here. A little statue of the Buddha down here. And this is another lovely bee plant here, geraniums. So we've got some beds in there. Some of the kale's gone to seed. There's a willow arch here, going down to our pond. And we've got the clematis, which has gone to flower. We've got some raspberries over there. Got some beds down there. So this is our garlic here. Potatoes. That's kale. There's beetroots in there. There's our currant bushes. And yellow flag iris. And this is our cauliflowers here. And this needs weeding. We'll be planting some things in here today. That's our fire pit and our view. So as I mentioned, we're quite isolated. So it's just amazing. To see. So this is our central kind of area where we have people to visit, or maybe we had a fire last night for solstice. And another wood store here. And just heading through the tunnel. We've got down here pink purslane, and we put that into smoothies in the morning when it comes up. You can hear the birds around. And there's some of the baby great tits up in the trees. So this is burdock, this plant here, and the root is edible. And it's another lovely bee plant. You can see the bees. That's a wasp on there. This is Angelica, and this is just self seeds. And we've got another little tunnel leading outside. And you can see. Okay. It's definitely a favourite time of the year in the garden. And these are our gooseberries. And through here we've got our black currants. So the black currant bushes. Not many currants this year. We did chop them back. There are some just appearing. And down in here, this is quite a lot of kale. Got red Russian, got asparagus kale, and then some chard at the back. And then off to the left, you've got the strawberries and the rhubarb. And these are more bee plants along here. Okay. Very good. And then up through this section. Is more beds. These are our fruit trees. And yeah, in the beds we've got courgettes because we get a lot of wind up here. This is a really useful place to grow things like courgettes, which are very delicate. So we've got apple trees here, pears, plums, and things like that. Oh. Right in the eye. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of a tour around the garden. Yeah, so I just find it's really having this space, nature. You know, some might say, you know, does it take a lot of time? And I guess, yeah, in some ways it does. It does take quite a lot of time to do the garden, but I think the idea with permaculture is, which my wife has studied in, is it doesn't take that long once you set it all up. So I find just potter once a day. Just come out, in the morning I'll come out and I'll forage some greens, so I might dandelion, pink purslane. I might find some other herbs, salad items, and I'll make them into a smoothie that we have in the morning. And then in the afternoon, after I've finished work, I'll come out and I'll maybe spend a bit of time pottering out here, making things, building walls or doing things like this. And I think sometimes in trauma, if we've been to boarding school or had some other form of trauma, I feel that, Bessel van der Kolk in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, this idea that, sometimes talk therapy doesn't necessarily work, but just being physical, and you probably can't see, but I'm barefoot at the moment. So just being connected to the earth, just being in nature. And there's, I really enjoy at the end of the day, I think, oh yeah, I've just built that wall. I mean, this wall here, this fell down a few years ago. And so I had to rebuild half of it, or half, I exaggerate, the corner. But yeah, it was like, yeah, I rebuilt that. The bench here, I made the bench, I made the gate there. I built that wall, all of this I've kind of done myself. Or my wife has, so we both have. So this idea that at the end of the day we go, it feels really good. I've created something, I've done something, there's something to show for it. So just find that way that Bessel van der Kolk said, the end of 9/11, they set up these things to do CBD, and also, other talk therapies, and very few people came along and did them. He said actually people wanted to do yoga, acupuncture, massage, be more physical, and this work of the teacher John Young and the 8 Shields model, the idea of just coming outside every day, you just sit in the same space, that sit spot, and the birds start to relax around you. You can sit and they just potter, and it just feels so lovely, especially this last week or so with the great tits and the babies, and I can see them flying around at the moment. It just feels so lovely, that heart space. So just some reflections. Any questions, please do let me know. But hopefully this is just giving you a bit of a taste of, okay. So it's almost like we do the internal work. We create the internal garden through meditation, through doing our internal practices, through a group, through therapy. And then we can start to create the external garden. And this is a reflection, the external garden of ourselves. So it might be you just begin. If you've just got space outside, create some pots, grow some things. It might be you make something. It's like using your hands. If we've had trauma, then it's quite important for us to get into the body, get more physical, make things, and notice the critical voice. I can't do that. I had no experience of making stuff. A lot of this stuff's very basic, but I had very little money, and it was just reused stuff. The healing power of nature and gardening. So, okay. Any questions, please let me know. Okay.